Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Suzanne and Sarah Real Estate Investing Podcast. We have lots of great content for you today and just some quick personal and business updates. This was a week of letting go. So we had one seller who decided to take the property off the market and is actually buying out her soon-to-be ex-husband. And so we actually help facilitate that process for them. We understand lives change and we're here to help you through it all. That one we had to let go of. And we also sadly had to move on from our transaction coordinator. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into it. And then one of our mentees decided to take a break and just refocus. So we understand lives change, priorities change, and so today, this week was about letting go.
Definitely. And as soon as things are released in our lives, new things come our way as well. Suzanne, I think that's the general law of energy that we follow. So part of that is we are bringing on a new CRM. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a customer relations management platform. It's like the hub, the epicenter of our business. And this is a really big move for us because we have subscribed to the same CRM for years now, and we've been a huge proponent of it, and it has served us really well to get where we are. But we are planning for future growth. We're planning for ways to automate our business more and spend more time doing the things that we love and only doing what we have to do in our business and getting help in all the other ways. So that's a big update for us, just optimizing our foundational pieces. So part of that is also going to integrate really doing an upgrade on our main website, the Central Oregon Investor Network. We're going to make that a more robust platform and integrate that into our CRM over time. And then also new good things that come into our world. Every contact we realize is really just, it's a potential new client. We really never know where our new business is coming from. And we just have to assume the best at all times from the people that we work with already, from the people that we're in the process of letting go of, but still maintaining relationships with, and the people that we're already working with that send new people our way. Had a few new people in our realm this week that we onboarded from various different realms. So that, and last week we had our monthly investor meetup. This one, we were analyzing a successful on-market flip, and we just continue to get greater and greater in-person and online turnout for these things. I think every time we match or beat our record from the previous time, and it's just so fun filling our office with people. Like every single seat is full, bringing in seats for people to be in attendance and build community in the space that we are providing. And that in conjunction with doing it online in a remote way as well.
Yes, it was great to see so many people show up in the office and then have a lot of people online. And I think there were also a lot of other people that tried to join. And because of our transaction coordinator, we had a lot of people that were pending membership in our meetup group. So if that was you, don't worry, you're in now, and we will make sure that doesn't happen again. So we're making sure that our systems are robust and that everyone who wants to attend can attend in the future. So today's main topic that we're going to talk about in a bit is tracking repairs prior to closing. And we'll get into a couple of stories and tell you why it matters for buyers, why it matters for sellers, and also for us as agents. So moving on to our market and business updates, let's talk about what is happening in the Central Oregon market. And I can speak to this since I wrote the top picks for last week, and I was so excited to get to the long-term rental section because we had this awesome Ben duplex in there. And then I went to click on the link, and lo and behold, the thing was pending already. So it was on the market for 3 days before it went pending. We didn't even have time to get it out in the email before it was pending. But if you read our emails, you know that even if something is pending, it's still up for grabs potentially. And that is in the form of a backup offer. And we have a lot of success in submitting strong backup offers. And if the first deal falls through, then our buyers have the first right of refusal to flip right in there and snag that deal before it goes back on market. So just because something is pending doesn't mean it's gone. You can still put your offer out there. Guess how much it costs you? Nada. So always worth trying on a backup offer. If you see a property that's pending and you're like, oh, I missed it,
And
try. You can
what I
still try.
want to say about backup offers also that I think can be a misconception for buyers is while it locks you into this second position, it does not excuse your ability to continue to home search and to put offers in on other homes. You can continue to search in the event that you find another property that you would prefer to put an offer in instead of the one you have a backup offer on. It's no problem. You can revoke that offer that you have the backup position on at any time with zero consequence. There's no earnest money involved or anything like that. This has definitely been a method we've gotten a few clients into desirable properties with this backup offer method. And if you're patient, I think it's definitely something to consider.
Great points, Sarah. And interesting thing, price, it's really all about price in this market. And if something is priced, it is moving and getting multiple offers. And we saw this in action this week with a property that Sarah had toured with some of our first time homebuyer clients like a couple of months ago. This condo had been on the market for 120 days. So what is that? 3 months, right? Been on the market for 3 months at 365, which is still like a bargain price for a place in Bend, but it came with a really high HOA, relatively $625 a month. And it has a pool and a hot tub, but they close it down in the winter. Who does that? So our buyers, those buyers were feeling like, we're not really getting a lot for 625 in the winter. We're not gonna go for it. But the sellers dropped price to 335, and guess what happened? Two offers plus we had a buyer that came out of nowhere and was like, I want to see this today. So we got them in that day. They looked at it, wasn't the right fit for them, but still, that just goes to show you, all you sellers, all of us, we're all sellers and buyers, right? The right price will sell anything.
Totally. So some notable negotiations this week, just some paperwork stuff on the back end, really might minutia for most people, but we've got a 1031 exchange buyer, and on his relinquished property, it is just his name on the relinquished property. And for his replacement property, we had him and his wife on the contracts. And what we had to do was remove his wife from the contracts this week because with a 1031 exchange, the same person has to be on both the selling and buying side of the transactions. Super simple fix, a non-issue completely in this transaction in terms of just like negotiations between buyers and sellers. All it really takes is one addendum, removing the second buyer from the contract, and we're good to go. And that was really just a 1031 exchange required addendum.
Right.
That's
And I think that just is one example of how strict the 1031 exchange process is. And everyone should just be aware of that. The timelines are strict. The names on the contracts are strict. And that's for a reason. The IRS doesn't want someone else to get away with deferred capital gains that don't belong to them. So if you think about it from an IRS standpoint, it makes sense why they would require this. So
Mhm.
just a fun little thing that we learned this week about 1031s.
Yeah, fun fact. We
You wanna
also
do this
learned
one?
about a specific lending program this week, since we're working with a few lower budget first time home buyers, and lower budget in the Bend area is between 400 and 500K. It's harder to find homes in that arena. And so there's this first home program that's available out there right now for buyers who are making under 80% of the area's media income. And here in Central Oregon, that's for a married couple, I believe that's $84,000. So with that program, you get an FHA rate right now at 6.125 or a conventional rate of 6.375. And there's also additionally a down payment assistance program as well for people who even make up to $125,000. So that's called the Next Step Up program. We are working directly with lenders who can help you navigate the applications and the qualifications for these particular programs. And we're definitely in the process of referring our clients to this valuable information right now. So just a little bit of tidbit out there for you guys right now, anyone looking for primary homes that are in this price range. And if you fall in that category of household income, this could work for you.
So many great resources available out there. And that's why we want to tell everyone what is available. Things change all the time. So if you're listening to this in 2026, come back and ask us questions. Moving on to the topic of the week, tracking repairs prior to closing. And this is so important on so many levels. And it's one of those little details that doesn't always get put into the system or the calendar to track. But it's really important because when you're a seller's agent or a seller, you are responsible for completing repairs by the date that's stipulated on the signed repair addendum, whether it's a seller's repair addendum or a buyer's repair addendum. And if you don't show proof of completing those repairs by 5 p.m. on that date, deal can be over. If your buyer has any cold feet and they want to walk away, they can get out scot-free, all their earnest money back if you don't show that you've completed those repairs. For buyer's agents, you got to have systems in place to protect your clients so that if they are feeling that way, they can get out, get their earnest money back. That's not the goal usually at this point of the transaction, but it's a really important deadline. And I think one that often gets overlooked. We have a couple of examples that we're tracking right now. Do you want to talk about one of them, Sarah?
Before I go there, I just want to say, yes, for both buyers and sellers, this idea of the repair addendum and the home inspection is usually the biggest obstacle to get through in any transaction. And there's so much focus that goes into what's on this report and what we're going to ask for, and going back and forth in negotiations between the buyer and the seller, between what we're asking for, what the seller will actually do, so on and so forth, explaining things that might be misunderstood or misrepresented on the inspection report. And then, yes, we come to agreement, and sometimes things just get left by the wayside, right? Everyone's, oh, we're in agreement now. Now the repairs are going to get done and we're just going to get to the finish line. But the buck does not stop there. There's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah, as Suzanne said, putting these systems in place, like creating repair checklists, and depending on who you're representing, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller and how they're feeling about the transaction, knowing whether to speak up or stay quiet based on the particular situation. And I use different things in my life to relate between when you need to be big and when you need to be small. And this is definitely one of those cases. And our real life examples, we've got a few of these. And this is one reason why we really focus on this and pay a lot of attention to this for our buyers and sellers. So real life examples, we've got one transaction in the pipeline right now. We told you part of our systems are once we get a all signed buyer or seller repair addendum, we create a checklist and we put these dates on our calendar, and we are checking off these specific repair items, proof of them being done, whether that is photos or having a reinspection, and or in combination with invoices and paid receipts from the vendor that completed them. It's our job to reach out to, in this case, the seller's agent on behalf of our buyers to check in on repairs that have not been completed. But we have had transactions in the past where we've done the same thing and we've been provided evidence of repairs being done. And it comes to find out that when the transaction closes and the buyer takes possession of the home and they go to use particular items or see items for the first time after the repairs have been done, that they haven't been done to spec. And at that point, especially after the transaction's closed, the scope of what we can do is extremely limited. As we mentioned, if you are still within that timeline and contingency of before closing and the seller is supposed to have completed the repairs and you don't want to move in after that for some reason because they haven't completed the repairs, you can make that decision. But buyers can be in a tough position if sellers haven't done the repairs and they still want to move in. What do you do in between that time? And I think what I would suggest is getting proper evidence of completion of repairs is extremely important to you, to hire your home inspector to go out and do a reinspect. From what I know, home inspectors charge about $150 to go back out and take your list of repairs and do another reinspection to document for you that these things have actually been done to spec. If we've written that into the contract, we can do a reinspect ourselves. But again, seller's not going to listen to us. We are not professionals in the home inspection department. We are real estate agents. It's best to have the professionals do that. Moral of the story, we've got your back when it comes to repair addendums. We have systems in place for this, and we are diligent about the follow-up and tracking where you are in the transaction and are here to support you and your needs and whatever it takes. On the flip side, we do have one example of in the past where we had a buyer who was under contract on a multifamily unit. There was a ton of repairs. The seller's agent did not do a good job of reaching out to us proactively about repairs being completed. Our buyer had found something else that they preferred to buy. The seller had passed their timeline in terms of when they were allowed to complete the repairs. The repairs had not been completed, and we were able to use that as an out for our buyer who was through his inspection contingency in order to get out of a transaction and get his earnest money back because they just dragged their feet too long. These are important things. That seller could have kept our buyer locked in, or at least kept our buyers earnest money if they would have done their job.
Yes, so important on so many levels, and good for everyone to know whether you're a new agent, an experienced agent, or a seller or buyer. So, moving on to our client and industry public service announcements. We love sharing what we learn and what we know. One common misconception that happens a lot with new construction is that buyers often think, oh, I don't need an agent. I'll just call the builder or go talk to the person on site in the model home and they'll help me. Who do you think they're actually representing if they are sitting in the model home for the builder? Do they have your best interest in mind? We'll let you decide. We would recommend that any buyer in that situation have their own representation to navigate the process. And one example we have is we have some clients that are interested in a very specific income based program here in Central Oregon that they do everything in house. Well, we've had to refer these clients over to the builder's agent. We're still bridging the gap of communication and we have our clients' backs, even though we're not technically representing them. So we had a situation this last week where we checked in with that agent and said, hey, how are things going? Are you ready to sign some paperwork for us? And she said, oh no, it sounds like that buyer doesn't have enough funds to make the deal work. So we connected with those buyers and said, hey, this is what we're hearing. Is this what you're hearing? And they said, no, we thought we were on the list. We thought everything was good. We were able to come up with that money, no problem. And so we actually ended up bringing this deal back together, even though we make like this much on it because we're not actually representing these clients. We're still helping them and making sure that their best interests are protected, even though they're not fully in our care.
Yeah, that could have been such a sad situation because there's this long waiting list. Like Suzanne said, it's this income-based housing that, you have to make under certain income to qualify for. And they just would have been waiting and would have had no idea that they had been passed in line. I feel very happy for them and fortunate that we were able to make that connection for them just by staying in touch, just with good communication. All right, so we're on to our highs and lows of the weeks. And I would say our biggest wins of the week are this new CRM implementation that we'll be bringing into our world over the next 4 weeks. We're not going to tell you what that is until we've got it figured out ourselves, but we will share what this new, fun, fancy, shiny platform that we're early adopters of using is in future episodes. Also, just acknowledging that we have strong client intake systems and we're able to divide and conquer from halfway across the planet, really. Just because we've got our systems in place, our clients would never know that we don't have a huge team behind us and that we're not in the same place at the same time unless we're telling them.
And now, yes,
Leading into that.
yes. And now I'm actually at the point where I'm embracing my remote work and being more transparent about it. So This is not a fake background. This is actually real. Those are palm trees. I'm at a coffee shop right now. And whereas in the past I might have put on a fake background and maybe worn a jacket so you wouldn't know that I'm wearing a a dress here in Baja, I'm over it. I'm now openly sharing the freedom that comes with real estate investing. And this has been my goal. Living this life is fully fueled by real estate investments. And I think that translates to a lot of the people that we serve and that we work with. It's been fun to just be more open about that.
I want to stay on this topic for a minute. I love this. I love this change. And I'm just curious about why all of a sudden, what has pivoted, what has changed for you to feel like you are open to embracing this and advertising this so much more?
I think part of it is recognizing that what I have created for myself is in many cases what a lot of the people in our community are aspiring to do. And my initial hesitation in sharing that I'm in Baja or wherever I am is I was worried what people would think of me. I was worried that they might think I was lazy or just slacking off or that I don't take my job seriously.
Mm.
But I realized that if I can embody the vision that people have in some aspect of what they want their real estate and passive income to create for them, that I can relate much more authentically to our clients, to our community, and help people who want to do something similar. I was just talking to some potential clients yesterday who have a son who's 15. He'll be graduating in 2 or 3 years, and they were talking about buying a duplex, renting one unit out, living in the other, and then when he graduates, then going and traveling for a bit and taking a little mini retirement. So by showing my real background, I was able to relate to them and say, yes, you're on the right track. Buying a duplex and house hacking is the perfect way to do that, where when you're gone, you can rent out your unit and have passive income coming in and not just leave something empty while you're away.
I love it. It's awesome. Yeah, I would have never thought your answer would have been that people might think I'm lazy or not taking my job seriously. Like that thought doesn't enter my realm at all. I thought maybe your answer was going to be something like people might think I'm entitled or like I've been given this. But I think the point is that you have truly worked for this and you have put yourself in this position that you're in. You continue to work hard and create these goals and achieve them. I'm all for it. The authenticity attracts the types of clients and the type of people we want to be surrounding ourselves with and really just enhances our lives further with those relationships that we're able to establish from that. So thank you for sharing that little bit more vulnerable in this. So thank you. So challenges, of course, the weeks come with challenges. We know that from what happened this past week, sellers can be fickle, people's lives change, but people have distractions. And in real estate, it really is always striking while the iron's hot and making sure that you follow up. We've lost a few things this week and letting go can be hard, but just keeping that positive mindset that there's always more is part of what helps us get through it. So part of our gratitude this week is this will be our podcast episode 9 this week. So we will have been at this for 9 weeks already. And we're starting to get some positive feedback on our content and just that it's making an impact. We spend a lot of our time and energy creating content, educational content that we think is valuable for other agents, clients, just investors in general. And it's just always nice to hear that people are listening and that they're into it. It's energizing to keep going. So that, and we continue to build our business to support the lifestyle that we want. Like here we are. Yes, Suzanne is in Baja, which is her dream location in the winter. I'm sitting here in beautiful, sunny Central Oregon today, and I can feel spring on the cusp. I know everybody's getting outside today, and I'm living the very best life that I can live in this moment, at this stage of my life, and so is Suzanne. And so we just always have to bring that back into perspective that this is how we're building a business, and it's really great to be aligned in that way. So beyond that, I will say my funny real estate moment of the week. I was talking to the builder of this new CRM that we're adopting. And he gave me this direct feedback that for some reason was extremely mind blowing to me. And he said, "Hey, Sarah, don't market yourself as a realtor. People don't like realtors." And I was like, Wait, what? Inherently, people just don't like realtors." And that hit me, that I was impacted by that, because what I do in my life, like historically and up to now, like I fully embody what I do. Like I identify myself as lots of things, but in part, I identify as a realtor. And he just gave me pause to make sure that I'm not constantly branding myself as a traditional real estate agent, to make sure that I'm also sharing the other things about my life that are interesting, that I like to do. Because ultimately, again, my goal with speaking to all of you on these platforms is to make sure that you get to know me and feel like you like me and trust me and want to reach out to me for advice and support in the real estate world. I personally don't see the fact that I like to brand myself as a realtor is a bad thing, but maybe you do. So would love any feedback on that if you're willing to give it.
I think we need a poll, Sarah. We need a definitive answer from the masses.
Mhm.
So stay tuned to our social media. We may be answering a poll to that question. All right, let's talk about a tougher emotional moment. And we talked about this a little bit at the beginning in terms of letting go. We did have to let go of our transaction coordinator this week, and it was a tough decision for both of us because she was really great at her job, but her reliability was lacking, and we just didn't know from day to day if she was going to show up or not, if we had help or if we were having to do it all ourselves. And ultimately, it was family and health issues within her family, and we just needed to do what was right for our goals. And we gave her a bit of a bonus at the end and said very kind words. We'll be sending her a recommendation because she did do really good work when she was on it. She was so fast. We just need someone more reliable. That's all about letting go. And the folks that I am learning from in my mastermind have taught us to hire fast and fire faster. In this case, we didn't fire fast at all. We gave a lot of second chances, and no regrets here. I think we did what was authentic to us, and we are moving on, and we'll be excited to tell you when we have our new transaction coordinator up and running, which I'm sure will be sooner than later.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on to our personal investing and portfolio updates. This is the juicy time where we tell you about what we have going on in our own investments because, as you may or may not know, Sarah and I are both investors as well. So we have investments in Oregon, we have investments in other states. I also have a property here in Baja. So it's just good for y'all to know that we walk the talk. This is what we do every day for all of our clients, and we do this for ourselves. So my update, I hinted about this last week when I was talking about, do I pay a couple $1,000s for some short-term rental optimization coaching, or do I do $100,000 remodel after I got 3 4-star reviews? Might have overreacted a little bit. So I am going to be learning how to optimize my listing, communication, my photos, my guest experience to increase my revenue primarily by getting my occupancy up and just overall improving that guest experience to make sure that everything that they see on my listing is what they see when they get there and that they have a great experience from the moment they book until after they leave.
How long are you going to give yourself to implement that?
This month, let's say March.
Okay. Got
Yes.
it. And then obviously you'll need more than March to look at the metrics and how that's, how that's working.
Yes.
So
So
maybe through
to that
Q2.
point, I'm glad you brought that up. The person I'm learning from is going to be a guest speaker on our August 14th meetup. So we'll be able to look at some before and after metrics of my property. It won't be quite 6 months, but it'll be close. So we'll be able to see what the impact was of taking her advice, her coaching, implementing her systems, and some tools as well, and see if it moved the needle or not, and if it to be able to measure the ROI essentially.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I'm the guinea pig for all y'all.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so my update, Suzanne and I are in different spots in our investment journey. Suzanne's been doing this for 12 or 13 years. I just started buying into investment properties in 2023. 2023. So I'm a little bit further behind. I'm still navigating where the best places to put my money are and the best uses of my time and resources. And this year, this beginning of this year, the most challenging thing for me has been cash flow. We took on a fifth mortgage this past month, and we've had some vacancies in our out of state properties and our St. Louis properties. We are in transition from turning one property into to our primary residence to a rental, and then the property that we just purchased and are turning into a primary residence is completely torn apart and is being fueled by our own money to renovate. I've shifted my priorities this year in terms of stress and goals. And I'm at this point where the money that I have coming and going in my out of state investments is so little. I'm not stressing over what's happening there in terms of just vacancies. I'm just doing what I can when I can, which at this time is just one unit at a time, getting bad tenants out, putting good tenants in, remodeling units as I go. The out of state investing thing for me, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of moving parts and it can be overwhelming, but it's just breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. So I feel very fortunate in that I have one completely stabilized unit, great tenants, fully occupied, and I just put that up for sale by owner on Zillow yesterday. We'll see how we do with that. But my other one is a hot mess right now that I'm working through. So there's that. Yeah. And my goals right now are really just paying off my debt left over from our last remodel project, generating income to pay for this new remodel project, and working on repositioning what money we have invested out of state and bringing it closer to home in order to utilize the resources that we have here, which is now my husband's labor, which we didn't have in the past when we purchased out of state. So
Literally closer to home, like
yeah,
right
literally.
next door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We've got a tired landlord in the adjacent townhome to mine that's a midterm rental. And after I get my debt paid off and get St. Louis sold and we get moved into this next property, I am going to buy that townhome. So stay tuned. I'm looking to do that as a subject to deal, whether that seller knows it or not. But I will talk you through that as I make it happen.
So good. I'm excited for you. And if you need a next door neighbor, sign me up. So good. All right. Some recent investment decisions. As some of you may know, I am in a mastermind, a real estate mastermind, so that I can continue learning and both for my own investments and to bring to our business and our clients. And so in my coaching last week, my coach actually was asking me where I'm at in my private money lending process. Am I tapped out? And do I have more funds to lend? And I was like, actually, I'm at a point now where I have enough loans out that I can't keep track of it all in my head anymore. And I was like, you know what? I need to organize all of this in a spreadsheet so that I can quickly respond to funding requests. And I did that yesterday in between all of my other coaching calls. And I love it because it's really pretty and colorful. And I just like looking at it. So it's been helpful already. I had somebody ask me yesterday, how much will you have by X date? And I said, I was able to quickly give an answer, and it was just so helpful to be able to know exactly where I stand, where the money is at, when it's coming back in, how much I stand to make. And so I'm feeling really good about that.
Was this a spreadsheet that you made, Suzanne, or was this given to
I
you?
did. Yeah,
Wow.
I made it, and I was just in Google Sheets, which we use for everything, and some little thing on the side was like, had these little templates, and I was like, ooh. So I just clicked on one of those templates, and so it made it really pretty, and I'm happy to share my tracker. It can be adapted to any type of thing, but yeah, it's been fun to just get that set up because it also can store all of the documents like the signed promissory notes, the mortgages, the profit and participation agreements. Like I can have all of that also stored right in the spreadsheet or linked in there. So it's all together, which I love. One-stop shop.
So fun. I can totally relate. I've just been doing so much spreadsheet tracking recently with all the debt and income tracking, and it feels so good to have that organized. We've been redefining our buy box, shifting from this one strategy to another. Like I said, we started with these long-term cash flowing rentals out of state, and we have decided that we're really more into the Burr strategy here in Central Oregon and just focusing on more strategic acquisitions. But in order to do the next steps, I've got to prioritize debt payoff and get myself financially stable again in order to keep moving forward. We tell clients all the times investors tend to be cash poor and asset heavy, and that's where we're at right now. And Q1 for us hasn't been as busy as I anticipated in terms of closings. We're always busy in general, but we're looking to make that up for the rest of the year and get back on track. So it feels good to
But
have.
we're still up, Sarah. We're still
Yeah,
up
we
versus
are.
last year. I'm looking
Yeah.
at our see, we have all these trackers,
Yeah.
and I love seeing the green. We're up 129% versus last year at this
So
time.
wild.
So while we may feel like it's not been as busy as we remember last year being,
Yeah.
we actually are.
Yeah.
We're ahead. So
Oh,
yeah,
I'm not scared. I know. I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
I'm not scared either.
I'm not scared. It's really just I like to live my life with my head in the hole, and I prefer to operate that way, to be making so much money that I don't even have to be paying attention. But there's some times where I've got to pay attention, and that's what's happening right now. That's all.
Yep.
No big deal.
So good. Let's take our audience through the top 3 takeaways from today's episode. Take it away with number 1, Sarah.
Yeah. So we told you tracking repairs before closing is crucial. You need to be working with people who have systems in place, or otherwise that's just going to make or break your deal. We think it's really important for everyone to have really detailed tracking systems on this. It's one of the biggest issues that we see come up in transactions. Number 2 is the Central Oregon market is a hot market. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. It doesn't matter where you are really here in Central Oregon, especially in Bend. The market is moving fast for homes that are priced correctly, and interest rates right now are favoring a certain set of buyers. If you're in that income demographic, definitely be reaching out to your lender contacts or us so we can connect you with your lender contacts and find out how you might benefit from the interest rate climate and support programs right now. Finally, investing is a long game, right? So whether you're like Suzanne in the process of optimizing one of your STRs, she's been doing this forever. She's owned several STRs and she's just doing this, right? We are always learning, and I'm only a couple years into this game, and just trial and error. It's the school of hard knocks here, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, different phases of life, different available resources. And none of it is regrets. It's all lessons, and it's all valuable things that we can absorb and teach back to you.
So if I had to pick a song that embodies the theme of today's episode,
Please do.
Kenny Rogers, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And this week we had to fold a few things and hold a few things. So just wanted to go out on a limb there, and why not have a song, right? So we hope you enjoyed our 9th episode of the Suzanne and Sarah Real Estate Investing Podcast. If you want to stay connected with us outside of our weekly podcast, we have lots of options for you. We're on Instagram at Best Life Bend and at Suzanne Rosemore. You can join our next investor meetup, which is going to be March 20th, and we will have the link in the show notes for you. We'll be talking about how to kick corporate and ditch the W-2 using your real estate investments, featuring yours truly and another person in our real estate investing community. We also have our top picks email, you guys, and this is where the best deals get sent out every single week. So we'll have a link to sign up for that. And you can always reach out and actually talk to us. Like, we're real people and we would love to chat with you. So we will have a link so you can connect with us on a 15-minute call.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week with more behind the scenes real estate investing stories and more time with us.
Bye, everyone.